Hi there, I think you were quite well. Today we are going to read about the noted or celebrated poem by B.Shelley, that is Ode to the West Wind. Today's session include detailed analysis with annotations and notes. So let's proceed. Ode to the West Wind, P.B. Shelley or Percy Bysshe Shelley was one of the most revolutionary poet of the Romantic Revival. He was one of the greatest poets during the Romantic Revival period. Shelley is the most purely visionary poet of English literature. It is generally said that Shelley was probably the most purely visionary poet of English literature. His poetry, that is Shelley's poetry, is ethereal. I mean, far from the commonplace and ordinary interest and occupations of man, and it is far away. It's away from our day-to-day activities. His poems and poetic creations are thus gain the characteristics of ethereal status. Shelley wrote the poem Ode to the West Wind when he was uh, in a place near Florence, and it was during 1819. In 1819, Shelley wrote Ode to the West Wind near Florence. At that time, he was staying near Florence. In this poem, that is Ode to the West Wind, all his poetic powers and subjects are splendidly wrought into a whole. There is no separate viewpoints, separate themes, but all aspects have been interconnected in such a way that it seems that it has been woven very artistically. It is perhaps that it is perhaps the greatest of all the lyrics of Shelley. Shelley wrote many lyrics, and it seems that Ode to the West Wind is the most important and is the greatest of them. The theme is developed to its climax with logic, with that sweep of imagination, with logic and that type of imagination that scales the earth, heaven, and the mind of human beings. There is a imaginary thread of interconnection among the earth, heaven, and human minds. The poem Ode to the West Wind is a description of the power of West Wind, the power of West Wind, the strength of West Wind on the earth, on this planet, in the sky, even in the sky, and also in the sea. Hence, all the three entities of the universe, that is earth, sky, and the ocean or hydrosphere, are quite affected by the effect of, by the timeless energy of, timeless effect of the west wind. The poem is also an invocation to its spirit to inspire the poet and sparked his revolutionary thoughts among mankind. This poem is purely an invocation to the spirit, to that spirit of uh, to that spirit of entity that will help the poet to drive away old thoughts, old traditions, outdated customs from human lives, and help the human beings to explore more fully the world of new regeneration and rejuvenation. The poet wants to be a lyre in the hands of the west wind, or a trumpet to foretell a glorious moral and spiritual regeneration of humanity, as yet slumbering in the lap of old tradition, erring conventions and false prejudices. Shelley was living in a world which had deep faith on old traditions, prejudices, false prejudices, superstitions, and all that is outdated. That needs to be corrected. Hence, a revolution was extremely needed at that very moment. And Shelley's poem, Shelley's invocation throughout to the west wind is nothing but a glorious revolution to bid adieu what is outdated and pave way, make way for the new, for the updated, for the rejuvenation. So let's speak about the metrical pattern of the poem or to the west wind. The poem is written in an Italian meter called Terza Rima, which is very rarely used in English poetry. Terza Rima is very rare in English poetry. There are very few poets in English literature who used Terza Rima in their poetic creations. Shelley was one of them. It is not massively in vogue in English literature. Actually, Terza Rima was invented by Dante for divine comedy. And Terza Rima is actually a variety of triplet, not a stanza. A combination of three lines, that is triplets, the true sense of the in the true sense of the term. This combination of three lines cannot be considered as a stanza. Rather, it should be treated as a triplet. In Ode to the West Wind, Shelley, in each section, has used four triplets, alternately rhymed. Alternately rhymed. That means first line, third line, fifth line, seventh line. This was rhymed, and this is called alternately rhymed. And Shelley, in his poem "Ode to the West Wind," did use this Terza Rima. And in each section, he had 14 lines, four triplets. That means 4 into 3, 12 lines, and a concluding couplet in each section. That is 3 into 4 equal to 12 plus 2, 14 lines, and each and every section of the poem "Ode to the West Winds" has been woven this way. The rhyme scheme here is A B B C C D D E T C D C D E D A B A B C B C D C D E D. So let's read about the text. This is the first triplet of first three lines. Oh, wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, though from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing. Wild west wind. Note it. The west wind has been personified here as a living entity or living spirit of what? Of tameless energy, tameless strength, force. And here thou, the meaning of which is you, and it is the archaic use of you used in poetry massively. Breath of autumn's being the most vital and the necessary aspect of autumn's activity. Here autumn has been personified. Unseen presence means unseen presence. The meaning of unseen presence is the wind is invisible. Now look at enchanter. Enchanter fleeing, driving away. Fleeing means to drive away or scaring away, and enchanter means a magician. So if we analyze the poem, analyze the triplet, the poet invokes the west wind, and the poet says that the west wind is the breath of autumn's presence, the autumn's being being living. Autumn is living, autumn is alive because its breath, the west wind is there. As human beings lives, as they can breathe, when they are breathing, when their breathing activity stops, they die. Similarly, west wind is the breath of autumn. And you, from whose unseen presence, and the west wind is unseen, and your presence is causing turbulence, and this is why the dead tree leaves are driven. The dead tree leaves are separated from the trees, just like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing. A good comparison. An enchanter uh, or a magician scares away ghosts or supernatural ill elements. This is in this way. This is the perfect simile here used. Uh, in the same way, the west wind is also driving away the leaves from the tree. Now proceed to the next section. Yellow and black and pale and hectic deep, hectic red, pestilence-stricken multitudes, O thou who chariotest to their dark wintry bed. Hectic means deep, yellow, black, pale, hectic red. Pestilence-stricken. Pestilence-striking multitudes means the leaves have lost their natural living color or the greenery, like the persons attacked by some deadly contagious disease. It seems that the leaves or tree leaves have been attacked by some pandemic or contagious disease, and this is why they have lost their natural color, that is the greenery, and they have lost their natural color and turned yellow, black, pale, and deep red, who chariotest to their dark wintry bed. Dark wintry bed means dark and cold ground where the seeds lie buried in the hold in the cold winter. The west wind drives away the tree leaves, and this tree leaves the tree leaves with seeds uh, sent to under are sent under the ground, and they lie there during the whole winter as if they are buried underground, and they stare the whole winter season and waits for the advent of spring. The next triplet, the winged seeds, where they lie cold and low, is like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow. Winged seeds, the seeds does not, the seeds do not have seeds, but they are flying by the effect of west wind. Hence, the seeds has been uh, called the winged seeds, as if they have wings, where they lie cold and low. They are driven away by the west wind, and they fell under the ground, and they lie there throughout the winter season, cold and low. They remain insensate or lifeless during this period of time, and as if it seems that they were dead bodies. Then azure sister of the spring shall blow. Azure means sky blue. Sky blue. Thine azure sister of the spring means the spring wind is considered to be the sister of the west wind. The wind in spring is considered with the sister of the west wind. So here the meaning of the triplet is the seeds are just like winged seeds, as they are driven away by the west wind. They are carried underground and they stay there and they spend there the whole of the winter, just like a corpse or a dead body, and they only awake with the presence of spring wind. When the spring wind blows, it brings a message of rejuvenation for the insensate or lifeless seeds. And here, the autumn wind has been treated as, or the spring wind is considered to be the sister of the west wind. Her clarion over the dreaming earth and field, driving sweet birds like flocks to feed in air, with living hues and odours plain and hill. Clarion means trumpet. Dreaming means inactive. Hues means color. Let's analyze the meaning of the triplet. The poet says that the earth is inactive. The earth is inactive and it was sleeping during the whole winter. It is only the presence of spring wind. The warm spring wind will blow her clarion and wake up the seeds into life. Wild spirit, which are moving everywhere, wild spirit, which are moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, here, oh here. The west wind been considered as has been considered both as a destroyer as well as a preserver. Destroyer, the west wind destroys the dead leaves, the leaves that are dead, but preserves the seeds by driving them under the ground. Hence, the two different types of works and activities are well manifest here. Firstly, it is destroying the tree leaves or separating or driving away the leaves from the tree. This is the negative activity of the west wind. In the same way, it's also driving away the seeds from the branches of the tree, and the west wind is carrying the seeds into under the ground, and the seeds are kept there throughout the winter season. And it is the west wind that gives a blow to the seeds so that it can get the touch of the spring wind, and it rejuvenates. He, Here the poet invokes the west wind to hear his appeal. And undeniable is the fact that west wind is performing his duty both as a destroyer and as a preserver. So no more today, because I don't want to increase the length of the video beyond 20 minutes. So if I am going to introduce a second stanza, this will count more 15 minutes, and I never want to increase the length of the video. This sometimes irritates or sometimes takes time. Hence I like to end the video here. And so if you like the video, don't forget to like it, and like it or stay connected with us to get more and more uh, videos or more and more posts on this topic. And in the very next video we are coming with the rest 4 stanzas of the poem Ode to the West Wind. So thank you for watching the presentation, and if you like it, don't forget to give a thumb. And if you're new to my channel, you can subscribe it to get these types of sessions in every second day. So thank you again.